Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I want to offer you my review and impressions of Fragpunk. It's got a lot of things to like and a handful of major problems. So today we're going to be doing this good, bad, and ugly style where I first talk about the good things in the game, then the bad things, and then the very ugly things that drive me crazy. The shortest possible way to very factually describe the game before I get into my opinions is that it's a lot like Valorant. It's a Counter-Strike style, one life, tactical shooter, footsteps matter, headshots matter, a hero shooter with lots of abilities, again, very much so like Valorant, except they added match modifying cards and a card economy system. So you've got like a little TFT and Hearthstone mixed in there and a little bit of RNG to add a lot of variety to the matches. So when you see these cards being broken, that's effects being activated for either our team or the enemy team. But without any further ado, let's jump into the good. The first good thing that you will notice immediately is that the gunplay and gunfights feel fantastic. It's just really smooth, really good feeling. As a veteran FPS player, I was very much so right at home. One of the things that helps is that all of the bullets are hit scans. There's none of this weird projectile stuff that we've had in Call of Duty and Battlefield for a while. Just regular old hit scans. If they're in your crosshairs when you pull the trigger, they die. I absolutely love that. The game has hit markers a lot like Call of Duty, but instead of the standard, like, boring X's, these are like big splashy comic book ones, which a lot of people could say would be bad or distracting, but I think the art team did a great job. It balances really well, and it gives me a lot of feedback mid-gunfight. I love that. I know when I'm landing my shots or not. I know if I'm hitting body or head. The sort of frame-to-frame, millisecond-to-millisecond feedback is really, really good. Hit detection is also extremely good in this game, so that's just lovely. I've been playing a lot of games lately that don't have good hit detection. And a huge one for me is that I got a Counter-Strike style game, but without Counter-Strike style aiming. Even though I've been playing FPS games for about 30 years now, I was never on board with the way the recoil and aiming mechanics worked in Counter-Strike and Valorant, i.e. you're supposed to memorize the shot pattern because your bullets don't come out where you're aiming. I'm doing the weird things with my hands. They'll actually come out of the gun at like crazy angles and stuff, and you're supposed to memorize the pattern. So you'll like pull your crosshairs off the target because you know your next bullet's going the other way. I don't really like that. I just think that's backwards logic. It's drove me crazy for years. So this game doesn't have that. It has standard Call of Duty style aiming. Whatever you're looking at down the sights, bullets goes where the sight are. Sights will kick up if you go full auto and you get a little shake in there, but none of that weird kind of Counter-Strike-y stuff. It does have some Counter-Strike elements. It's really punishing to do hip fire, even worse if you're moving. A lot of benefits for standing still. There's movement penalties and stuff like that. But the base gunplay is a little bit more Call of Duty style, which is great. I also want to say that Fragpunk is very well optimized for Unreal Engine 5. You can see my frame counter up in the top left-hand corner. And I know that I'm playing on a 4090 and a good PC, but I'm playing this game on maximum settings, 1440p, either 120 or 144, I couldn't remember what I set it to, and I'm outputting to Twitch, YouTube, and saving a super high quality version that was used to edit this video at the exact same time. So I'm using my GPU to triple encode, and I still get that frame rate that you see up there. So that's really great. The aesthetics in this game are also objectively well done. I personally kind of like the art style. It reminds me a lot of the comic books I have at home. I like bright, punchy comic books, a little bit on the violent side. I take punk elements here and there. And, you know, the dev team seemed to get that so much, you can actually unlock and view pages of the story, which happens to be a digital comic book that you can read inside the game. I feel that was a really nice touch, and it kind of helps bring the whole theme together. The punk style is often really hard to do in video games because it's cel-shaded, it's very messy, there's usually a lot of clutter on the screen. But Fragpunk, I think, does a great job balancing that sort of edginess of punk art and clarity of the telemetry to where I can still see what's going on. Thus far, none of the wild art in the game distracts me or confuses me. Moving along, its core mode is really fun, even though I don't usually go for this type of mode. It's basically Valorant, and Valorant is basically Counter-Strike with abilities. So this game is a little bit more like Counter-Strike with abilities and match-modifying RNG cards and a card economy system on top of it. So the core gunplay, Counter-Strike. The everything else is a lot more like modern games, abilities, RNG cards, stuff like that. I do want to say the audio design is extremely good. Footsteps are really clear. They're sort of directional. You get a good sense of up and down, sprinting, moving, distance, direction. I thought the sound design was fantastic. I will say that I'm terrible at this kind of core mode. You can see in the gameplay, these one-life tactical shooters are really not my thing, but I do think the mode was overall very well designed. One thing I love about it is when you go to tiebreaker, you go to duels. It's a series of 1v1s. But it's like a mosh pit. If you win your first 1v1, you're going up against the next one, and sort of the last team standing wins. It's a very fun way to end. You'll see a lot of gameplay of that. I think that's a much more fun way to end a game like this than a simple tiebreaker match. Though I will say its team deathmatch mode is probably Fragpunk's absolute best mode. It allows for sliding, faster movements, there's launch pads, there's respawns, you can kind of use whatever gear you want and activate whatever cards you have. It's a really fun mode. And it plays oddly well at that faster pace, and oddly well with the sliding. And with the launch pads, I can do sniper trick shots and fun little things like that. The Team Deathmatch mode has even more to like than the Counter-Strike mode. Unfortunately, its Zombies mode is very boring, to me at least. The Zombies mode is underbaked, and that's being generous. It is literally just Call of Duty Infection, but the game systems aren't as well made for it. And I think there's only one map. It's kind of a spooky, like, Chinese city thing. Anyway, it goes on for a long, long time. You have to do round after round after round of zombies. It gets very boring. Did not like it. I do want to point out the game has a simplified Counter-Strike economy system. In Counter-Strike, you earn money to buy your guns. You don't really have to fool with that, but you do have to save tokens, and you use tokens to either activate or get cards. It's a lot simpler. It reminds me a little bit more of Teamfight Tactics, keep the numbers smaller and more manageable. And you only get 2 of each gun, or if you die with it, per match. So if you die with your assault rifles twice, you're just going to have to move on over to submachine guns. But the main point of the game is collecting and using cards at the right time to give your team an advantage and manage your economy to activate them. It adds a lot of variety to matches. I didn't think that I would like this mechanic, but it adds something to matches that I think was missing from Valorant and Counter-Strike. It kind of keeps it from getting boring. It keeps it on your feet. There are even cards that like send the entire match to Hades and it turns all spooky, or it all goes cel-shaded, and a lot of really neat effects. The downside to this, and what leads directly into our bad discussion, is that sometimes you do die to random stuff. And now we're at the bad section of Fragpunk. Right off the rip, especially since this is a Call of Duty channel, you guys gotta know this is a hero shooter with abilities like Valorant or Overwatch or Black Ops 3 and 4. They're mostly powerful. Not all of them are balanced. I think that the overall, like, big picture balance of the game is masterfully done. The balance is quite good. There's interesting play and counterplay and ability to detect and deal with things. The downside is that there's like 15 characters and each one has 3 abilities, and then there's different cards that modify things, and you end up with like a lot of stuff that can happen. So sometimes you will simply die due to bad luck. That is the nature of hero shooters. You've got to deal with invisibility, healing, movement bonuses, flashbangs, people that can see through walls, barriers, kind of all your classic stuff that drives COD people crazy. And the cards, ladies and gentlemen, are truly random. At least the 3 that you draw that you get to pick from. So you better pray to RNGesus for some good cards, because drawing the right cards and activating them once they're drawn can literally make or break a match. That is a very essential part of this game. Another unique situation is that it can be very painful when you have the perfect card to nearly guarantee a win, but your team won't select it. They won't use their economy with you to activate it, and you just have to watch that opportunity go away. There's also situations that happen when you get a really complicated card and your team just doesn't seem to understand how it works and more or less ignores it, so they kind of play without a buff. The current card system is fun, and as I mentioned in the good section, it adds variety to the matches, but it is a little bit overwhelming in its overall volume. There's a tremendous amount of cards and a lot to manage for new players, very brutal, but I do understand it's necessary to keep up the variety. One interesting thing about Fragpunk is that if you choose to take a tactical with you, a grenade, a smoke, a stun, a flashbang, something like that, they actually come in the form of little pistols that shoot little grenades, like a little grenade launching pistol. But you have to trade out and drop your regular pistol. So if you take a tactical in this game, you are without your secondary weapon, which I think is a great thing. But that also means that you can drop your tacticals, or you can kill people and pick up their tacticals, or your teammate, you can just give them to your teammates for free and stuff like that. And I think that ends up making them a little bit spammy, a little bit weird. They're a little bit too easy to bounce around corners and stuff. When you play with good players, they use them a lot. Another big downside is that right now it's only available on Steam and the Epic Games Store. Xbox and PlayStation versions are indeed coming later. The Fragpunk team has promised that they're coming as soon as possible. I would wager it's going to be like a lot of these other games like Delta Force and stuff. You're looking at 3 to 6 months before the console version comes out, and unfortunately a lot of the hype for the game will have died by then. It does have great controller support on PC though. The last thing I'm going to mention in the bad section is that the style is truly inescapable. A lot of you love realistic military stuff, milsim stuff. You don't like silly cosmetics, and that's fine. That's a personal choice. This game is loaded with silly cosmetics. So if you don't like cosmetics and bright colors and anime girls and weird guns and things like that, there is no escaping it in Fragpunk. That is the game from start to finish. Which leads me right into the ugly section. Even the microtransactions are RNG heavy, and there's a lot of them. Pretty much all cosmetic for now, though there's some system that you can go through to unlock more Lancers, which gives you more options, I suppose, but they're all reasonably balanced. But in the game, there are direct purchases, battle passes, community events, seasonal events, barracks-style challenges, daily challenges, and of course, good old-fashioned loot boxes, just RNG crates that you have to buy and hope to get lucky to get your like really cool gun or whatever out of. The game has only been out for a week, maybe probably by the time this video comes out, a week and a couple of days, and there are more microtransactions than I can ever hope to keep up with. There are endless pages of guns, most of which look really cool. There's a lot of really neat gun skins and special guns and animations and stuff. There's different Lancers, and all the Lancers have different skins and different emotes and voice lines and stickers and splash screens, and there's so much. The game is monetized in every conceivable way except for having to pay to buy a copy. It's kind of got that NetEase special going on, a lot like Marvel Rivals, or if you've played NetEase games, which is, in my opinion, over monetization. They have their own analysis, their own economist probably on staff to find the right, like, microeconomic balance between supply and demand of microtransactions, and we're going to make the most money or whatever, but it comes across really overwhelming to me in a bad way. There's just loot everywhere and millions of ways to unlock it. And really a lot of hands today. I'm just doing a lot of this. Probably shouldn't. It looks weird. Another big problem the game had is that during its launch week, matter of fact, about 2 or 3 days after it came out, it had extended downtime for almost 12 hours. That's a really bad thing to happen during your launch week. It killed a lot of the momentum for the game. Moving on with ugly things. This one's a little bit more personal. I personally struggle really hard with Counter-Strike style games. I'm not good at having one life. I'm not good at playing slow. I'm not super good at aiming for heads because Call of Duty's conditioned me for other stuff. And I know a lot of this is personal bias because I've been playing Call of Duty for so long. But when I see enemies, I instinctively shoot for the chest, because headshots don't really matter in COD, but they matter a lot in this game. They matter maybe even more than Counter-Strike. Like, when you can probably see the gameplay. When I'm getting body shots, it takes 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 shots to kill if I have an SMG. Headshots, the same gun, 1 or 2, tops. Like, it's truly Counter-Strike and Valorant. There is no point whatsoever in aiming for the body. And that's not necessarily a bad thing or an ugly thing for everyone. But it's a really ugly thing for me, because I am not used to it, and my instincts are very wrong, and it makes the game a little bit harder for me to play. And then finally, I don't know if Fragpunk is going to have legs. I know that NetEase is launching this, and also Marvel Rivals, to take players from Valorant, Counter-Strike, Overwatch-type games, even Call of Duty and stuff like that. Fragpunk, I don't think had the strongest launch week. It had its sponsor stream, its initial burst of interest, and seems to be kind of fading pretty quickly. I don't want that. I don't want any game to fail. I would like to have more games on the market succeeding and making better offers for us, the gamers who enjoy it. But signs are looking a little bit rough right now for Fragpunk. I do hope it has legs. I hope it finds its audience. I hope it's around in a couple of years, but yeah, I wouldn't bet on it. All right, guys, that is all for my review of Fragpunk. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you want to check out the game, it's free to play. Probably any PC or console that you can access it on. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.